There was a man who had lost his son, his career and his reputation, all in a single year. Most people who knew him expected him to collapse. Instead, he wrote some of the most powerful words in human history. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and the secret he discovered about mental strength, it still works today, but almost no one uses it. Welcome. This channel is about Stoic philosophy applied to real life, and in this video I'm going to show you the specific signs that prove you are becoming mentally strong, not just tougher on the outside, but genuinely unbreakable on the inside. By the end of this video you will know exactly what mental strength actually looks like in daily life and why most people mistake it for coldness or indifference. We're going to cover 3 signs in particular. One of them will surprise you, one of them might make you uncomfortable, and the third one you've probably never heard anywhere else. But before we get there, comment below, when was the last time life really tested you? I want to know. In 170 AD, the Roman Empire was being torn apart. Plague, war on 3 borders, a financial crisis that threatened everything. And sitting at the center of all of it was one man, the most powerful person in the world. He didn't rage, he didn't retreat. He wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That man was Marcus Aurelius. And here's what's remarkable. No one was supposed to ever read those words. He wasn't performing for an audience. He was training himself. Every single day. Now think about the people you know who are genuinely mentally strong. Not aggressive, not loud, not the ones who never cry, the ones who face the worst and still move forward. What do they actually have that others don't? Here's the problem. Most of us were never taught what mental strength actually looks like. We confuse it with toughness, suppressing emotion, acting like nothing hurts. But that's not strength, that's armor. And armor is heavy, it slows you down. Real mental strength looks completely different. It's quieter, it's more powerful, and it shows up in small moments, moments you might have already experienced without even recognizing them. That's exactly what we're going to look at today, because if you're already showing these signs even slightly, you're further along than you think. A Harvard study followed people through major life crises, job loss, illness, betrayal, and found that only 1 in 4 people reported becoming genuinely stronger after the experience. The other 3? They stayed the same or got worse. That means growth after hardship is not automatic. Something specific has to happen first, and that's exactly what sign number 1 is about. Sign 1. This is the first and most misunderstood sign of mental strength. Most people spend enormous energy trying to get others to understand them, their decisions, their pain, their choices. And when people don't understand, it destroys them. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, said this: "Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it." He knew what it was like to have no control over anything external, and his philosophy was built on one foundation. The only thing you ever truly own is your own mind. So here's what this looks like in real life. You make a difficult decision. Maybe you leave a relationship, change a career, cut off a family member, and people around you don't get it. They question you, they criticize you, and instead of collapsing or over-explaining, you just continue. Not because you don't care, but because you've done the internal work. You've sat with the decision long enough that you don't need external validation to hold it up. The Stoics called this autarkia, self-sufficiency, not isolation, not arrogance, just the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own reasoning. Think about the last time someone misunderstood you. Did you feel the pull to over-explain, to defend, to justify? That pull is completely normal. It's human. But here's what the mentally strong person does differently. They feel that pull, acknowledge it, and then let it go. That pause between the impulse and the action, that's the muscle, and it grows every single time you use it. If you've ever caught yourself choosing silence instead of argument, not because you gave up, but because you knew it wasn't worth the energy, that is sign number 1, and you should recognize it for what it is: growth. Quick pause, which of these signs resonates most with where you are right now? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and if you're finding real value in this video, hit like right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this content reach people who need it. Sign number 2 earlier. I mentioned Marcus Aurelius writing in his private journal during the worst years of his empire. Here's something he came back to over and over: the idea that the future is unknowable and that the obsession with controlling it is a form of suffering we choose. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Most people are paralyzed, not by real danger, but by imagined danger, by the anxiety of outcomes they cannot control. And that paralysis masquerades as caution, as planning, as responsibility. But deep down, it is fear. Here's the counterintuitive truth the Stoics discovered: the people who worry the least about the future aren't reckless. They're disciplined, they've done what they can today, and then they let go. This is what sign number 2 looks like. You stop needing to know how things will turn out before you begin. You make the call, you send the message, you start the project. Not because you're certain it will work, but because the alternative, staying still, waiting for a guarantee that will never come, is worse. There's a Stoic practice called memento mori, the remembrance of death, not as a dark obsession, but as a clarifying tool. When you truly internalize that your time is finite and uncertain, something shifts. The small anxieties lose their power, the endless future rehearsing fades, and what's left is the present moment and what you choose to do with it. If you've recently done something that scared you, not recklessly, but deliberately, despite the fear, that is sign number 2. And it's one of the rarest things you can develop. The world is full of intelligent, talented people who are waiting for the right moment. The mentally strong person knows the right moment is constructed, not found. Now here's the part most people get completely wrong. Everyone talks about mental strength as if it's about what you can endure, but sign 3, the most important one, has nothing to do with endurance at all. In fact, most people who think they're building mental strength are actually doing the opposite. Sign 3. Go back to the beginning. That man who lost his son, his career, his reputation, and instead of breaking, wrote some of the most profound philosophy in human history. Here's what we skipped over. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for hardship to find him. He sought it out. He slept on a simple military cot despite being emperor. He fasted regularly. He chose the most difficult advisors, not the agreeable ones. He did all of this deliberately because he understood something most people never grasp. Comfort, unchallenged, is a form of slow death. The Stoics practiced something called voluntary hardship. Seneca wrote about it extensively, periodically living as if you had nothing, eating plainly, sleeping on the floor, wearing simple clothes, not as punishment, but as training to inoculate yourself against fear, to prove to yourself that you can survive the things you fear most. And here's what modern psychology has confirmed, what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. People who regularly engage in effortful, uncomfortable activities, hard workouts, difficult conversations, disciplined creative work show measurably higher stress resilience. They don't suffer less, they process it faster and more effectively. Sign number 3 is this: you've started choosing difficulty not because you have to, but because you understand what it builds. You wake up early when you could sleep in. You have the conversation you've been avoiding. You do the hard version of the task when the easy version would have been acceptable. This is not self-punishment. This is self-investment, and the mentally strong person knows the difference because they've felt the result. A quiet, solid sense of capability that doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from proof. Proof you have earned yourself. And here's the most powerful thing about this sign: it feeds itself. Every time you choose the difficult path and survive it, your threshold expands. The thing that broke you last year becomes manageable. The thing that terrifies you today becomes next year's baseline. That is growth, not the kind you can post about, the kind you carry. So here's what we covered today. First, mental strength is visible in silence, when you stop needing the world to validate your choices. Second, it grows when you act despite uncertainty, when you stop waiting for a guarantee before you begin. Third, it compounds when you choose difficulty voluntarily, because comfort, unchallenged, makes you fragile. Marcus Aurelius didn't become mentally strong because life was kind to him. He became mentally strong because every day, in small and deliberate ways, he chose the harder path. And so can you. If this video made you think differently about what real strength looks like, hit like. It takes 2 seconds and it means more than you know. Subscribe, because every week I bring you Stoic philosophy applied to real modern life. And next week's video on the Stoic practice of negative visualization is going to completely change how you handle anxiety. You don't want to miss it. And tell me in the comments, which of these 3 signs hit you the hardest? I'll be reading and replying until next time. Choose difficulty. It will choose you back.